Okay, welcome to our weekly skills legal AI use case demos. And today we're going to talk about due diligence. We have a full house, a lot to run, so we're going to very quick. First, I want to thank LegalOps and LegalTech Hub, the two organizations that help us put it together. Upcoming meetings. So we now have the July schedule. We're going to do internet collaboration on July 10th. We're going to skip July 4th weekend. Then we're going to talk about Claude, all about how we use those in July 17. July 24 is litigation management. And on July 31st, we're going to do a book club. Anyone who wrote a book recently or is read a great book or want to talk about a book, that's going to be the last meeting before we break. We're not going to meet in August other than in person at ILTA. On Tuesday, August 28th, we're going to have the ILTA Summer Social. Before that, on June 18th, we're going to have the London Summer Social just at the end of Legal Tech Talk. So this is the QR code for you to register for those two in person. All the other events you could just register on the website skills.law. Today we're gonna talk about due diligence. I want to remind you the Chatham House rule. You could say anything that you heard here today. You could post about it. Just do not quote anyone without their permission, please. We ask that you rename yourself now. Put your firm's name first, and then your name and title if you want. When you ask questions, please start by typing in all caps the word question so the presenters and the moderator, Claire, thank you, can see it and easily jump on it. And if you want to ask the question yourself, just make sure you turn on your camera and raise your hand. And if we have time, Claire is going to invite you to do so. Every one of the presentation is 6 minutes pre-recorded video and then 6 minutes Q&A. So if you have more questions after, the presenters are going to stay with us and going to do it. As a reminder, we started all with a survey that we asked people what they use for due diligence. This year, we've seen a shift where I think we see that the total number, Harvey passed Kira. Those are the two still main tools, but we have many more. This slide is from the survey that was at the end of last year. So some of them are already changed. So this is a fast-moving area. The order of presenter today, we're going to have Hebia first with Ali, then Clary X, Harvey, Litera, and Cleo. And without further ado, I think we're going to jump straight to the first presentation.
M&A legal work is some of the most high-stakes, document-intensive work in the world. A single deal can mean thousands of contracts, hundreds of pages each, and missing one clause can cost millions. That's exactly why we built Hebia. My name is Bakr Syed, and I support the executive global go-to-market team. And at Hebia, we built a product called Matrix. It's an AI platform, purpose-built for the complexity of serious legal and financial work. It's not a chatbot. It's an agentic system that reads everything, misses nothing, and works the way your best associate would, only faster. Today, leading law firms and M&A teams are using Hebia to cut due diligence review by 75%, surface red flags across entire virtual data rooms just in minutes, and leverage every past deal their firm has ever done. We're not only making lawyers faster, we're making them more thorough than was ever humanly possible. And I hope you enjoy this demo.
Thank you, Becca. My name is Alistair Wild. I'm going to provide an introductory demo for Hebia today. Just prior to that, I thought I'd give you a quick intro. We are nearly 6 years old as a company. We've raised money from various investors. We began life in financial services, a lot of VC, private equity firms using us, as well as banks such as Morgan Stanley. They started referring us to their outside counsel, and this is what led birth to our legal vertical coming on to 3 years ago now. One thing that makes us unique at Hebia is the way that we read documents. We were the first company to introduce RAG to market. We realized it is just not efficient and accurate enough at reviewing large-scale documents. And so we developed our own proprietary way of reading documents. Every single word is fully indexed and cited back within the matrix, which I'm about to come on and show you. So you'll see here that the study from OpenAI showed that we have a 35% higher accuracy than traditional RAG-based architecture, and this is really one of our core differentiators. So if I flick over into the product here, you're obviously all familiar with a chatbot. I won't bore you with this too much, but I'm just going to very quickly come in here and just show you a couple of examples. And the reason is that we have different sources that are available to me here. If I was to insert something here and click on this improve prompt button to give it a little bit more substance and meaning, I could then execute on this. But just to show you, we're going to auto choose the model, but you could come and choose from our model garden here, either one of the models from Anthropic, OpenAI, or Google. What you could also do is we have this set to auto choose the source for us. But if I load this on the right-hand side, you'll see that these are all of the sources that we license for you directly within the application. If I was to execute on this, it's going to create me a report that looks something like this. I can see my work here, see where it's pulled the different sources from. If I scroll near the bottom of this report, you'll see that we actually have 80 sources. I have some financial information, some excerpts in here, and I can obviously drill into individual citations directly within a document within Edgar. What I asked it to do here as well is create me a PowerPoint summary using the skills that we've imported into the platform. And it's gone through here. It's created me this PowerPoint deck. As you can see, I could go through here. I could any of these slides in platform, or I could obviously do this, download this to PowerPoint and do it from there. So I wanted to very quickly highlight that to you. The star of the show is really Matrix, and I'm going to flick over from our dark mode into our light mode here. I could run a due diligence agent from here. I could also run it from our agents page where I could choose on my use case and my agent type over here. But I could also run this from a project. And I've pre-created a project here, which I'm going to come in and load, which is this Skills M&A one. I'm going to flick down into a VDR, and I'm actually just going to grab these material contracts here. So I grab these, and I was to then trigger an agent from here. We have our corporate diligence agents. This is going to go through and populate all of these columns that you're seeing on the screen here. So if I was to run this, this is going to execute the agent for me. And what it's going to do is populate the first 5 rows. If I click this button at the bottom, load all rows, you'll see that this is going to populate 720 cells worth of data. And it's going to do that exceptionally quickly here. Now, each one of these columns is its own independent LLM. This one is using Claude Haiku 4.5. This is using Sonnet 4.6. This is using GPT 5.4. And over here, we have this one using O3. So once again, you have the benefit of this model agnosticity, where you can go through and choose these models accordingly. Now, I won't bore you with reading all of these columns here. Each one of these cells is its own independent LLM call, and it's also supported with a citation. And so if we come down into assignment change of control, I click onto this citation. This is where I would see the citation or citations that are relevant to ultimately produce this answer for me here. And if I scroll up on the left, you'll see that these are all of the columns that we're seeing in our matrix in this document. I can chat with this document individually. I could search, I could assign cells to be reviewed by collaborators on this individual project here. Now, what we have is a chat module, and this gives you the ability to go through and chat across this matrix here. So I've actually just preloaded this very simple question: are there documents where one party can assign and the other cannot? What this is now going to do, it's going to identify which of these columns that it needs to go through and find and read in order to render this information and this answer for me on screen, which you'll see it's now producing. Now, you may have quickly seen that I'm actually on an edit mode here as opposed to a read only. And in an edit mode, I could also ask it to agentically add columns here. So I've asked it to add columns for the following, and what it's going to go through and do is actually create these columns for me agentically on the right-hand side and automatically generate the prompts, start reading the documents to produce the answers for me. Now, once that's loaded, you have the ability to go through and click onto this draft feature. And this is where you can create reports. So I have a ROFO report, change of control, an executive summary report here that has, I believe, 13 sections in it. And behind each section is an agentic prompt here. I could also have this to generate me a PowerPoint from here directly. And if I flick onto this tab where this has been created, here's my change of control report with citations back into the source document within the matrix. Here's my rights of first refusal report. Here's my executive summary report that I just showed you. If I want to flick down onto IP rights, I click on the left, it jumps me there on the right-hand side. And then lastly, we have a PowerPoint here. This would obviously be branded up with your firm's logo and deck. And this is going to go through and produce this deck accordingly. Once again, you could go through and edit any of these slides. So that's a quick intro to Hebbia. Appreciate your time.
Thanks very much for that, Alistair. I'm Claire Semple. excuse me. And I'm a knowledge and training lead at Scadden. So great to have the opportunity to chat with you. We've got a couple of questions in the chat already. One from Thomas. How many sources do you license?
Great question. I believe we're actually at over 20 now. I don't have the exact number, but we have a dedicated team working on that. And so we're adding, more and more integrations and connections all of the time. And as I mentioned, we license these for you directly in application.
Brilliant. Thank you. And Michael also had a question, which is what is custom and what is out of the box? And then as a follow-up, how were these curated?
Sure. So we obviously have a team of lawyers that, are working on these. We have, I believe we're at over 100 templates out of the box for legal. Typically, the way we work with our customers is they would take those and basically adapt them for their firm or indeed adapt them for their client if they're working off specific playbooks of things that may be allowed for negotiation points. So in terms of us, we don't actually need to train the models because of the way that we read documents is differently. We're not using RAG, and so we don't need to fine tune the models to look in different parts of the document. And that's just where we kind of yield that higher accuracy, as I mentioned at the beginning.
Okay, thanks very much. And a bit of a punchy one here, which I suppose is a way of asking what you see your USP as. So it's phrased as do you see your capabilities as being above and beyond Harvey or Legora?
Sure. I mean, they're great competitors. Some of the logos you saw at the beginning, they have Harvey and Agora, right? So, we're not here trying to necessarily burn those down. We're pitching a better together story. And but really accuracy is king, right? And you guys are law firms, you're in the accuracy business for a living. And the firms that have partnered with us have really done it for those more complex documents, those larger matrices where we do not have those limitations that some of the other vendors may have. That is, we have no token and document limits in the platform either. And we're just about to introduce the next version of our matrix, which will be completely, truly unlimited, and you can have as many documents in there as you like.
Okay, well, and I think this is probably going to be possibly our last question because we're fast moving today.
Sure.
Which is a question about your error correction strategy and whether you have a AI checking the AI, for example, or other forms of automated verification.
We actually do that, and some of our customers do that as well. So you can actually clone any of the cells, and you can have different LLMs running them, and then you can benchmark against those to see if there's any differences between, the LLMs and the output. And so a lot of people are doing that, in QA, ultimately to develop the workflows, the agents and evolve them and test new models prior to deploying those to the lawyers who won't necessarily need to worry about it to the same extent.
Okay, thanks so much. And because you gave such a nice, concise answer, we've got actually one bonus question we can squeeze in, which is a question from Jose, which is whether this is collaborative and client-facing as a tool.
It actually is client-facing. We have a collaboration platform that we're just rolling out right now, and we're coming at this a little bit differently in terms of targeting the complete ecosystem. So this isn't just about you giving access for your clients to go in and see a matrix. It's actually to work with our funding clients because we have this, we span both these verticals for finance and legal, where a fund might outsource information, part of a deal to KPMG, something to a law firm. And so everyone can kind of go in and collaborate within one project, within one environment. And so that's something that we're working with a number of law firms to deploy literally as we speak.
Oh, very interesting. Well, thank you so much. I think that ends our time. Please do continue to ask Alistair questions in the chat, but maybe make clear when you're asking a question who it's for in case we get questions piling up for different vendors, just so we don't get in a tangle. But thanks so much. And we will now go on to ClearEX Transact.
I'm Carla Swansberg, CEO of ClearEX, and I'm delighted to introduce you to our proprietary platform, CX Plus Transact. designed for due diligence and related contract review. Our transactions team has spent nearly 5 years focused on doing due diligence at scale, completing at this stage well over 160 projects. Initially, they relied on legacy machine learning tools, but when foundation models got better at this work, and those legacy tools failed to really capitalize on those capabilities, our team moved to testing foundation models and then using the general AI tools on the market, which aren't exactly designed for diligence and which required significant workarounds to make the work go as smoothly and efficiently as possible. Given their expertise and experience, our transactions team worked with our software engineers to answer the question, what would a best-in-class due diligence tool look like? And then we built it. This includes appropriate workflows, project management tools, visual dashboards for immediate actionable insights, along with the ability to provide controlled access to clients and deal teams. We also launched CX Plus Insights at the same time, which is our contract analytics and knowledge platform. And our roadmap for later this year includes a smart VDR, which will integrate with Transact and add workflows to further streamline due diligence. My colleague Patrick, our Senior Director of Transactional Products, will show you some highlights of the Transact platform.
In this demo video, I'm going to show you some of the major features of CX Plus Transact, ClearEX's proprietary platform for due diligence and other large-scale document reviews. We begin inside of a project, which is a dedicated workspace for each review engagement. In the project settings, I can see that I can give my project a name. I can also add a client and matter number if I want, and I can also choose the members that have access to the project, including the ability to grant viewer access, which is read-only access that can be perfect for inviting in clients and other external stakeholders who might just want to track project progress in real time. From the dashboard landing page, project managers can track review progress in real time. They can see the documents that have been assigned out to reviewers in the project and the overall review progress at both the project level and individual reviewer level. And for individual reviewers, if they click on their name, they will see the list of files that have been assigned to them for review, and clicking here will take them to a filtered list of those documents for them to start the review. Navigating to the file review section of the project, I can see the overall organizational structure of folders and files. From here, I can select folders, or I can select individual files to take bulk actions such as moving or assigning documents to reviewers. Another handy feature here is the ability to manage the overall review scope of the project. If some documents, for example, let's say these joint venture agreements, are no longer going to be part of the scope of review, I can designate the entire folder or any of the documents therein as out of scope. You'll notice that it is grayed out here, and the individual files are grayed out and have an out of scope tag on them. If I navigate back to the dashboard, you'll now notice that the project dashboard reflects the scope of the review, so now showing only 20 documents in review, and all of the charts and other graphics here adjust so that they show all calculations of metrics based only on the in-scope documents. So for example, here now you'll see that 100% of the documents, the in-scope documents, have been assigned. Returning to the file review section, we can switch over to grid view and see a list of the documents in the project together with the AI-generated answers to the questions that have been applied to them. Questions are managed from the question bundle section of the project, and questions come with an easy-to-use prompt interface that allows users to also choose from a variety of question output types, including free text and structured outputs. Question bundles can also be saved as templates and reused across projects. In grid review, I can click on an individual answer to take a quick review action directly from here, or for a deeper analysis, I can open the file itself, see the source document, and also all of the AI-generated answers to various questions, together with the citations, which, if I click on them, will take me to the place in the document that contains the supporting evidence for the answer. From this view, I can also do the same actions. I can edit, lock, flag, or mark an answer as reviewed, and I can also mark the entire document as reviewed. In the analytics section, we can see a visual representation of the answer data across the project organized by question bundle. These graphs can be filtered by question or by question type, and all of them update in real time as changes are made to the underlying answers in the project. This feature and the View Builder feature are currently beta features and we will be adding additional functionality to make them even more customizable so that users who are coming here to get insights about a project get a much richer experience. In addition to the data visualization features in each project, we can also create custom dashboards using more advanced tools that can aggregate and synthesize the data into a more comprehensive report on key deal findings. This is another great way to share the progress and insights of a review with clients and other stakeholders without necessarily inviting them into a project. This concludes our demo. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.
Thanks very much, Carla and Patrick. And I think you're both available for questions, but please correct me if that's wrong.
We're both here.
Amazing, great. And Michael, I can see you're on the screen and you've got a couple of questions there. Do you want to come off mute and ask them?
Sure. First question was where do the files sit, and if what connectors do you have to the different DMS? And I like the dashboarding, so well done on that.
Thank you. Patrick, do you want to start? I can chime in.
Yes, of course. So the files are saved directly in the platform itself. We have right now, because the platform was built with our clients in mind and certainly also in-house teams in mind, we have connectors to SharePoint and one to Google Drive coming soon. We will be adding connectors to VDRs and other common repositories that are more aligned with due diligence. But right now, like our transactions team, when using it, would just download and then re-upload the files to our platform.
We've got a roadmap for all the VDRs, and I will just add that in addition, we've built the platform so that if you, on the insight side, which is a sort of contract version, but the same underlying architecture, clients can connect it to other sources without having to move the documents to get some of the insights. So it kind of works both ways.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Is Transact just for due diligence, or is it a broader transaction management platform?
It will work for any kind of contract review, at scale, small scale, similar document types, different document types.
Okay. And what are the kind of different options for accessing and signing up to CX and Transact?
We've created 3 different models, and because it's a new platform, we're still kind of working through what those will exactly look like. But one is that because we have the services team, if you use some version of the ClearEX services team to do the work, the platform is included free, including access for clients. The second is we wanted to make it available on a project basis. So if someone just wants to have access for 6 months to run a single project, we can license it that way, or annual licenses.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And then probably as apologies if this came up in the demo, but can you just talk me through your pre-populated or pre-trained data points, kind of like the smart field equivalents? Do you have those?
Well, no, we don't employ like a proprietary ML
Okay.
per se. We use the frontier models like most of the other products. So users can create any questions they want answers to. And as mentioned in the demo, there are a variety of output types. So you can choose from a free text output, but we also have more structured output options. We can, because, this is a product that our transactions team uses as well. We can provide clients with question bundles with questions already sort of populated for them as we help them with their engagement. And in the future, we'll probably offer some templates out of the box as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think we're probably pretty much at time. Michael, you had a question about document limitations.
No limits.
Okay, there we go. So that good answer to that one. Thank you both so much for that. And I think we are now moving on to Harvey Volt.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for having us here today. My name is Joe Morando. I'm a legal innovation partner here at Harvey. Harvey is an AI platform that spans the full scope of legal work, but today we're going to be talking about due diligence in particular. 2 things are really critical when conducting due diligence: attention to detail, of course, and being able to ingest a large amount of data and process all of it. Harvey was built to do these two things exceptionally well. Our context limits are vast, and the tool and the user interface is built to give the end user the ability to audit all the insights that Harvey extracts for you. Nicole's going to show you what that looks like now.
Thanks, Joe. Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole Garb, and I am on the legal engineering team here at Harvey. Today, we're going to be talking about due diligence in the Harvey platform. We're going to be using our Vault tool. Vault allows us to store documents directly within the Harvey platform. You can create as many vaults as you want, and each vault can hold up to 100,000 documents at a time. So there's lots of flexibility and storage capacity here. In this particular instance, I've brought in my virtual data room directly into a vault. So you can see I've named it after my M&A task, my Project Sandbar transaction. I brought in all the subfolders I had in my virtual data room. So from here, if I wanted to do my first batch of due diligence within Harvey, I'm going to go ahead and click on the review table button. Review tables allow us to query over up to 10,000 documents at a time and start asking strategic questions over them to extract information. For this example, I'm going to use my folder of material contracts, assuming that I'm working on the M&A team. From here, I'm going to go ahead and hit add files, and Harvey's going to take me into this blank page chart. Each individual document is going to end up on its own line, and I'm ready to start asking questions over these documents to extract information. From here, I can start by adding columns one by one if I'd like. I can ask, who are the parties to the agreement? Now, we do have our magic prompt button directly in here. This allows me to use Harvey's legal brain to make my prompt a little bit stronger. So you can see that Harvey added a lot more detail and specificity into my prompt here. Now I can hit continue. Harvey will create a label for this column and automatically suggest an output type. Maybe I just want this to say parties. I can always edit that as well. Here, Harvey's suggesting that I go with a free response output. That's Harvey's summary of the relevant provision. But depending on what I'm asking and what I'm looking for, there's all sorts of output types, including, of course, verbatim, which I know is a crowd favorite when we're talking about due diligence. From here, I can hit add column, and Harvey will start extracting this information out of all of my documents at once. While it does that, I can keep asking questions and keep going. So I can now ask, what is the effective date? Continue. This time, Harvey's suggesting date, and I can go ahead and add my column in. Now, I know a lot of people work off of diligence templates. They already have a good sense of what the column should be for their diligence chart. So I can click in here. I can actually just drop in a list of terms, each one representing a column I want to build. Maybe I'll add in some really traditional diligence questions like asking about change of control, assignment, and termination. From here, whenever I'm ready with my list of terms, I can hit generate columns. Harvey will actually create the underlying query for each column and again suggest a label for the column and an output type. So here we can see all of Harvey's suggestions. Now, all of this can be edited. So for example, down here, it says, does the agreement include an exclusivity provision? Yes or no? Maybe I want to know a little bit more about what that provision says. I can switch it to a free response. A quick note on this classify option that you're seeing presented here as yes or no. It is way more powerful than that. You can decide what else you want to include. You can think of it as Harvey choosing from a drop-down list. And if more than one option is applicable, then Harvey will tag more than one. I often joke you could add maybe as an option. I don't think a single lawyer I know would want to have maybe as an option, but it's just to show that you can really customize and set up what these columns should be. Once all of your columns look good, you can go ahead and hit add columns, and Harvey will add all of these columns into your chart at once. And here's what that chart looks like fully loaded. You can see as I scroll through that Harvey's gone through all of the documents I uploaded into my chart and extracted all of the relevant information to answer the questions I asked in my columns. I can always click into one of these cells, see the answer that Harvey's pulled out of the agreement to answer the question I asked in the column. Harvey will also show me its reasoning and rationale as to how it got to that response. You'll notice that inline in my answer, I have all these little footnotes. We call those citations. It allows me to double check Harvey's work directly in the source document. If I click on one of those footnotes, it will take me directly to the right place in the source document to make it really quick and easy for me to double check Harvey's work. Once I've verified Harvey's output, I can actually select and verify this cell. It'll get a little green check mark and show it was verified by me. I also have the ability to make a comment to all of the other people I'm working with on this particular transaction to say, I verified this. And now when I go back out into the main chart, you'll see the box has turned green with a little note that there's a comment bubble on it. You can also flag these provisions by any particular color that makes sense to you for your review. You can assign each agreement to a different person on your team by just clicking on this little button and typing in their email address. So now that this agreement has been assigned to me, and I know whenever I click into one of these cells that it's been assigned to me there as well. I can also filter these review tables based on any column. So for example, if I wanted to just see the ones that Harvey's flagged as having change of control restrictions, I can come here into my filter, go down to my change of control column and select yes. And now I'll just look at the subset with that relevant information. You can also ask over the review table and ask questions over the extractions in the review table to generate diligence insight. And you can save your review table as an agent if this represents all of the columns that you'd want to use over and over again as you do further diligence queries. Thanks so much for your time today and looking forward to answering your questions.
Thank you for that excellent demonstration, Nicole. Before we take questions, I'll briefly speak towards where we are headed. The keyword here is going to be collaboration. Notwithstanding the fact that Harvey can help a ton from doing AI-enhanced due diligence, it's still often a very heavy lift, and multiple parties are often involved by necessity. As of today, multiple parties across organizations can collaborate on due diligence through our shared spaces part of the product. We're going to continue to build out that functionality to meet clients where their needs are, given the organic nature of collaboration that is typically associated with due diligence. The other space that we are going to do this is in the review table product and the other lines of product where due diligence is actually being done and conducted. There's a whole host of features that you can see in there, which are collaborative by nature. Those are inspired by our clients and what their needs are. We're going to continue to be talking to our clients, find out what features are going to be helpful to them to ensure that Harvey is a complete solution when it comes to conducting due diligence.
And before we start, I'm just going to answer yes. All the recordings of all those demos are always posted on the Skills Law website. So you could watch it later.
Thanks, Oz. And thank you, Joe and Nicole. I feel quite breathless after that. Speed through. So question from Carl. Carl, I don't know if you want to come on and ask your question.
Sure.
If not, yeah, go.
Sure. Yeah, so verbatim was mentioned as a feature. Verbatim can be tricky because we're dealing with generative AI, which is deterministic, and we have seen issues with deterministic, non-deterministic tools not doing an exact job of copy paste. And that can be very important with verbatim contract language. So what's the accuracy of Harvey and the prior tools as well, if you all want to chime in, of a verbatim feature in your product? Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. And hi, everyone. Great to be here in person. So to answer your question, we at Harvey haven't specifically graded the vault on verbatim alone. We haven't looked at that as a feature standalone. Overall, our vault review tables have been graded as 96% accurate. So that would include any type of output there. It's not just specific to verbatim, but that's our accuracy rating within the review tables currently.
I would suggest getting some numbers on that and having them be 100% because people expect with verbatim it's 100% right,
Absolutely.
Even with commas and all that good stuff. Cool, thanks.
Okay, great. Adam, do you want to ask your question?
Absolutely. Thank you. Hi, everybody. So my question is just to understand a little bit more around the capabilities. So can Harvey, the other products, understand the document type and automatically assign those to the relevant lawyers or fee earners?
So Harvey can recognize the document type in the review table review. However, it's not going to automatically assign. The assignment is possible. You can assign it to specific individuals within your team, but it's not automatically going to do that. That's something that the user would do on their own.
Okay.
So I was looking for the mute button. Thank you.
Yeah. And finally, you highlighted the increasing importance of collaboration and alluded to future plans on that. How easy is it to collaborate now through shared spaces, and what are the other options for collaboration that Harvey offers?
Yeah, and for shared spaces, it's super easy. Like a shared space can be created quite quickly. You can be a guest, or if sort of the counterparty or the collaborator that you're working with also has Harvey licenses, they can sort of co-own the space as well. What we're seeing is that people still will want to sort of assign a primary person to manage the space, much like how VDRs are still operating, where you'll kind of have a few key people quarterbacking in each organization with maybe one doing that more primarily. And then, yeah, so very similar to what you saw there. You would sort of create the review table and then co-work on it in the shared space itself. And then on the internal side, we're just continuing to build out the functionality, like, putting in comments and flags and assigning and all that sort of thing as well.
Thank you both. I think that's us at time now. So you may continue to see questions in the chat. So reminder, people can ask you there. And we will move on now to Litera and Kira.
Hi, I'm Alistair Pimlott, a product manager for the Kira product here at Litera. Kira is our AI solution for contract review and due diligence, and it is unique on the market in combining multiple types of AI together into one product. So you have over 1,400 pre-built proprietary models that have been trained specifically for legal use. You have generative AI, which you can use to answer questions across any document in any language. And then you also have Kira's multi-layer AI, which uses the proprietary intelligence to ground the outputs of generative AI. This multi-layer approach makes your outputs more accurate and more defensible, which is essential in legal work. And this approach is why over 70% of the top 50 global M&A firms use Kira on their most critical deals. Now I'm going to turn it over to Mike to show a quick demonstration of why Kira is the best solution for due diligence.
Hello everyone, my name is Mike Truska and I'm a Solution Sales Executive at Latera. I cover all of our transactional workflow products, which includes Kira. Today I'm going to walk you through the two forms of artificial intelligence in Kira and how to leverage them together to extract the data that you need for your diligence exercise. So let's dive into it. We're starting on a project Flawless. I have 4 worksheets open here, and we're going to focus specifically on the corporate practice worksheet. And on the worksheet, we're going to focus in on the no shop provision. Now, this is a Kira built-in provision. This is the first form of artificial intelligence within the platform, and it's what powers all of Kira's pre-built smart fields. These 1,400 plus fields are machine learning deterministic models that are proprietary to Kira. They will provide you the raw data extractions for common deal points that you will see on a daily basis. Now, with the emergence of generative AI, we've embedded 3 distinct generative AI components into the platform. I'm going to walk you through each one. The first is the ability to summarize the output of a proprietary model's raw data extractions. So if I look at this merger agreement, I can see the no solicitation provision is on page 16, 21, and 25. Now, these are substantive. They're lengthy provisions with a lot of language to parse. Rather than reading through each one individually, I can simply hit the Summarize button. Kira will consolidate all this information into a single clean summary. So while this is processing, I'm going to take you to the second component of generative AI in Kira. The second generative AI component is our chat feature. You can access it at the document level. So now I've jumped into this merger agreement, and I'm going to ask, does this merger agreement contain a window shop exception? So as this is processing, it's going to give me information in terms of what it has in the document. So here it's saying yes, and it's giving me this real-time validation of where it's pulling it from the document. So I can hover over to get the direct citation, or I can click directly into this hyperlink. Now, this is powerful for one-off questions and for quickly orienting yourself in a document before you go deeper. But the question becomes, how do I do this efficiently across an entire document set? And that's where the third component comes in. The third generative AI component is our Create Generative Smart Field feature, and you can access it from the analysis grid. This is where you can scale. Now I'm going to show you 3 approaches here, and each one serves a different purpose. The first is a short form. You enter a simple prompt that says yes or no in terms of if there is a window shop exception in the documents. You can hit next. It will provide a preview environment. This is going to show you very quickly yes or no answers to your prompt. Now this is fast. You can scan it. I can name it and I can save it. And now this will live in my grid permanently. The second form is a long form approach. So same underlying question, but I built out a much more detailed prompt. I'm asking the model to go beyond yes or no and actually surface the relevant language, explain the scope of the exception, flag any carve-outs. This is the approach you'd see or you use when you need analysis and not just flagging information. So again, you get your preview environment, it provides you the necessary information, and then you can continue on. The third approach is the hybrid approach, and this is where the 2 forms of artificial intelligence come together. I'm going to take a prompt, a little bit more, a little smaller in nature than the one I just showed. And I'm going to layer in the no shop provision from Kira's proprietary machine learning models as the contextual base. So now that I have the machine learning extraction anchoring the generative AI response, the machine learning model will identify the relevant provisions with high precision, and then the generative layer will interpret and respond within that context. So 2 forms of artificial intelligence working in tandem. Of course, you get your preview environment. You can make a determination if it looks good, then you can go next, and then you can save. So to bring it all together, You have four ways to work with the data. The proprietary machine learning model on its own gives you Kira's trained extraction baseline, the chat feature for document level Q&A and quick yes/no answers, the short form generative smart field for clean, scalable flags across your whole document set, and the long form prompt for in-depth analysis. And lastly, the hybrid, which pairs machine learning precision with generative intelligence for maximum accuracy and context. How you combine these is entirely up to you and the needs of your specific diligence exercise. So thank you for your time today. If you have any questions about what you've seen, please reach out to any Latera team member and we'll be happy to walk you through this technology in more detail.
Thanks very much for that. And we've got Mike and Alistair for questions. If I could perhaps ask one of my own to kick off, if that's okay. You talked about the 4 different review options, and I'm just keen to understand whether every option is available to all users or whether that functionality varies depending on what people have signed up for.
So it's available to all users. We do have 3 tiers of user permissions within the platform. So you can add people as a member only or read only member of the project so they can just view what's going on in the project and not make changes. But generally, yes, they're all available to all users.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I think to ask you some of the questions as well that have been put out there for all the vendors, one of which is whether Kira can assign documents automatically.
Yeah, so I guess similar to Harvey's response, we don't assign them automatically, but we do have a fairly sophisticated 3-level classifier that will run on every document that's uploaded to Kira. So you'll be automatically the documents will be automatically assigned a classification on multiple levels, and then you can use those tags to, with a couple clicks of a button, assign all documents of a certain type to the relevant user.
Okay, got you. That makes sense. And say another question that was aimed at everyone, which was a question about what your dashboarding or structured data capabilities or plans are.
Yeah, so Kira does have built-in dashboards already, and the responses to all of the outputs from Kira Smart Fields will be displayed in that dashboard. So if you're using a structured output type, that will be shown in our charts automatically.
Okay, great. And then from my point of view, I'm conscious, that you've got significant heritage in the space, and I'll be interested to know what you see as the most significant change over Kira's lifespan, and contrasting that, what are the fundamentals of Kira that you would never want to change?
Yeah, that's a good question. Obviously, Kira was built on its machine learning prowess, and that continues to be very strong. We have incorporated Gen AI. That's obviously the biggest change that's happened to the market more generally, is just the advent of this new type of AI that we have available. We're making use of that, so that's the biggest change, but we still see users in many cases preferring still our machine learning extractions just because they are deterministic. They are guaranteed to be text that exists in the document. So, that is the biggest change. And then our strength that we're just kind of continuing to rely on is just the depth of workflow that we have. I think, as you can see, a grid is kind of table stakes these days, a nice grid interface and the ability to extract data from documents. Everyone can do that. But over the years, we've built up a lot of deep workflow tools to help with the review, assigning, tagging, flagging, classifying, sophisticated search capabilities, all that kind of stuff. So I think the workflow is really where we shine and where we continue to invest a lot.
Great. Well, thank you so much for that and for the demo. I think with that, we're at time, and we will go to Vincent by Clio.
Hi, Skills Law team. My name is Ben Joya, a legal architect here at Clio. And today we're going to talk about how Vincent can help us examine a merger agreement and complete some due diligence associated with that merger agreement. So 3 things that Vincent is going to help us do today: extract those representations and warranties and analyze those to make sure they're not overly broad or too narrow in some circumstances. We're going to create a closing checklist. And lastly, we're going to examine regulatory approvals. So in the first instance, we're going to start by uploading our contract, the merger agreement between LinkedIn and Microsoft, to our Analyze a Contract workflow. We're also going to be asking Vincent to review the merger agreement and identify all reps and warranties made by the seller and flag any appear unusually narrow, qualified, or potentially problematic for the buyer. Now, extracting those representations and warranties would be a little bit too simple, right? We can probably get that workflow out of a generic AI use tool like ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude. But let's check out how Vincent actually goes a step further into analyzing those representations and warranties to making sure that the buyer is protected at every turn. It's going to list here the executive takeaways, and then it's going to create a chart without even asking of the representation and warranties linked directly to the contract for verification. It's even going to have a buyer flag here, just so Vincent correctly analyzes and informs the attorney that's using Vincent whether or not they have anything to worry about within those representations and warranties. We'll see here that Vincent lays out the most potentially problematic seller size limitations for the buyer. It says that broad deemed disclosure through SEC reports, heavy use of company material adverse effects. MAE definition itself is seller friendly. Knowledge qualifiers in sensitive areas, right? Is the seller actually saying that they need to have actual knowledge versus just knowledge? Now, switching gears for a second to another critical part of the diligence workflow, a closing checklist or the conditions precedent to closing, right? A list of things that must be true, delivered, or completed before either party is obligated to consummate the transaction. And if any of these conditions aren't satisfied, the deal will not close. So this is the closing checklist that is important to every single transaction, and that is done across the desk of many different diligence attorneys in the industry. So as we can see here, Vincent is going to list the conditions that are precedent to closing. So we can download these as an Excel or a CSV. And again, it's going to give you those express conditions precedent to closing. It's going to make sure that it breaks it down by parent and merger sub obligations, the conditions to company's obligation to close, regulatory approvals, and third-party consents. So Vincent even goes a step further, right? It's going to tell you what are the express conditions to closing, and then what are items that are required efforts or pre-closing mechanics, but not expressly talked about in the agreement. This is that next step in the analysis that normally a junior attorney or a mid-level attorney would have had to spotted for the senior associate or the partners, but now Vincent can also close that gap and talk about things that aren't expressly located in the contract, but nonetheless have to be delivered prior to closing. Lastly, we're going to ask Vincent what antitrust, competition law, or government regulatory filings are required under this merger agreement, and are there any provisions addressing what happens if regulatory approval is denied or delayed. Search for any relevant state or federal statutes that may be implicated. In the first instance, it's going to give you an objective answer on whether or not antitrust, competition law, or government and regulatory filings are required under the merger agreement, and also give you additional context as to what happens if regulatory approval is denied or delayed. Now, it's also going to give you additional research on any case law, relevant state or federal statutes that might impact the merger agreement in this instance. Using our proprietary legal database, Vincent is going to look up statutes or any case law or regulations that may impact the merger agreement or anything you might have to be aware of. We can see here that Vincent pulled the pre-merger notification and waiting period statute, federal statute in the US. And if you want to go ahead and read that statute, you can go ahead and do so directly within our VLEX library. So a transactional attorney might say, why would I ever need to conduct legal research as a part of a transactional merger agreement? Well, the first answer is you may not have to. But the second answer is if you do have to, you want to make sure that those citations are verifiable and that you're getting trusted case law and trusted authority, which you can do directly from our VLEX library here. So we can see here that Vincent also gives us our answer and said, yes, the agreement specifically contemplates antitrust and competition filings and other governmental approvals, and it's going to list them right here in a chart, linked directly to the contract. Vincent also provides us with one of our answers that we requested. What happens if regulatory approval is delayed? So who bears the risk in that case? Regulatory clearance is a closing condition, and it also talks about what happens if regulatory approval is denied or blocked. So again, Today, we talked about how Vincent can help us handle important diligence tasks associated with a merger agreement, which is reviewing and analyzing the representations and warranties, creating a closing checklist, and also handling government and regulatory approvals. We look forward to answering any questions. Thank you.
Thanks very much for that demo, Ben. I had a question, which is, am I right in understanding that Vincent's been designed to support the work of the advisory teams in addition to just the due diligence, the kind of like core due diligence team, we're talking about the antitrust merger control checks. And if that is right, how many of those experts does it support? Or is it really just for the due diligence team and you still need to go out and get that expert advice?
I don't think that Vincent should be thought of as giving advisory opinions. Of course, I think you're still going to have to hire those professionals. I think that there is different capabilities that you might be able to use depending on what sort of advisory work you're looking for. If it's financial advisory work, I don't think we've yet closed that gap where you can get really precise financial expertise advice, especially across a large merger. I think that as a baseline skill, you can still do a lot of that advisory work within Vincent. However, I don't think we're to the point where you're going to be able to fully replace those skills quite yet. So I wouldn't think about it in that context, especially for due diligence purposes. I think that the way that our tools being used right now in due diligence contexts is more about document analysis, right? We don't have VDR plugins quite yet. And so I think a lot of what we try and support in terms of how our tool can be used for due diligence is majorly around contract analysis, being able to host large document sets right within Vincent, analyze large document sets, and also in an area where you may need context and access to case law, we can also support that analysis as well.
Okay, got you. Thank you. And in terms of then sharing the output, we've had, flagging again the questions about dashboarding and how that's then, how you can invite others into the space, what you can show to clients. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so I actually as I was on the call today, flagged to my product team. I was like, we need to start working on dashboarding because that seems to be what people are looking for on this call. So I've certainly flagged that. I'm going to bring that onto our next call to see if we can put that on the roadmap.
And in terms of multiple teams working on the platform, how easy is it to collaborate on workflows and assign and tag tasks?
Assigning and tagging tasks isn't something that we have right now. A lot of the workflows that you see and that are presented here are siloed. So one person would be working on them. You can share those workflows across the organization. When you're working in a collection or a set of documents, you can share your workflows with others within the organization. We don't have any sort of tagging system where you could tag an individual for a certain task. And a lot of those collaborative spaces are being built out now, and they're certainly on the roadmap. But right now, where the product sits today, we don't really host collaborative spaces.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good to understand that. And to you as well, the question about assigning and tagging documents automatically, which has been a kind of a repeated question for everyone.
Yeah, I have to go back to my product team to answer that question specifically because I don't want to say anything a capability that we don't have, and I'm not sure.
Okay, all right, great. Well, thank you so much, Ben. I think we're at time, and we will now go over to Nikki.
Thank you, Claire, and hi everyone. Interesting day of demos. It's a really fascinating area and such a growing area, and the data really shows that, as Oz demonstrated at the beginning of this session. So we're going to break down again in terms of the data from the survey. And if we can go to the next slide, Stephanie, thank you so much. So as Oz said at the beginning, this is a really interesting one because of the way that the market is moving. This is an area where we have mapped very, very carefully how things have evolved over time. And indeed, we are coming out shortly with another due diligence competitive analysis which will also allow you to see in a lot of detail how rapidly this market has evolved. You see, of course, the live is the navy blue, in pilot is the orange, and considering is the green. And so Kira still the market leader when it comes to what is currently live. But if you look at live and pilot, Harvey's come in with a lot of market share, and Legora, Luminance also challenging. And if we can move to the next slide, just taking a look at that in terms of momentum from 2025 to 26. So this is an area we did survey last year as well. And the pale blue is 25, the dark blue is 26. So again, I think this makes it even clearer just how quickly this market, this particular market, is shifting. You can see how much market share there was in Kira, which I think was the most significant incumbent, not just in this area, but across all of legal tech last year. Still very strong. But yes, this is a very challenging competitive market. What you don't see here is that there are also a lot of other providers that are new in the market, but making headway very quickly. So Tower is showing here. Of course, Cleary X's CX Plus Transact is brand new in the market. You also have a number of other players that my guess is we'll start seeing next year because this market is continuing to move at pace. If we can move to the next slide. Again, Harvey increased materially when you look at live adoption. Legora really emerged as a major new entrant here. Last year was not as plugged in from a market entrenchment perspective. Hebbia continues to show market interest. And you also have continued live deployment in some of the other incumbents alongside Kira, Luminance, and eBrevia. But as I mentioned, there is a long tail here. So Diligence, Emma Legal, Jury Mesh, just some of the additional providers that we're not yet seeing on the data graphs, but anticipate that we will. So this is an area to watch and keep track of. And what to look for. This has been fairly stable for a while in terms of core capabilities. Of course, the ability to review documents at scale, to extract data at scale. Really looking for here limitless or extremely large context windows and ability to upload documents at a very large number, but also lengthy documents, and customizability of extracted fields. In a lot of cases, it can be useful to have pre-built extraction templates for specific types of extraction and diligence to save time. The ability to review and flag as reviewed within the platform, the ability to work collaboratively increasingly, as some of the questions today suggested, not just within the team, but also potentially with other parties and clients, to assign tasks across a team, to mark reviewed fields as complete, and to generate a report while reviewing. And the ability to export work to Word, Excel, or other when producing a report. And if we can go to the next slide. Here, though, what's really interesting, and perhaps one of the reasons for this movement in the market, is what generative AI has allowed us to layer on top of core capabilities in the due diligence arena are things that previously were not feasible, but now are nice to haves, but I think increasingly must haves, because they are so useful in the context of at-scale due diligence. So that ability to have automated identification of red flags, for example, still need to be checked, but it just gives you that starting point. The ability to query data live and receive summaries of data, cross-document reasoning, data room intelligence increasingly becoming something that a lot of providers offer in tandem with due diligence, really saving a tremendous amount of time when it comes to organizing a deal room. Automated report generation and verification flows, of course, with pin sites, etc., to source documents. And now also automated workflow orchestration. So interesting how many people asked about whether you could automate deal or verification assignment across a team. And that is something that we're seeing increasingly as a feature. So definitely an area to watch. I'll stop there, but I did see a question for me. So happy to go into that question. Oz, maybe we can release the providers and I'll start with that Q&A.
Absolutely. We want to say thank you again for all the presenters today. That was a packed session.